Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening, 4D. Good evening, Viv.
Good evening, 4D. Good evening, Bonds.
It is Thursday, the 21st of May, 2026. Storm the Teacup, episode 65.
Indeed. What did you find anything for 65?
Not really. I can reel off another element on the periodic table that nobody's ever heard of, but what's the point? 65. Winston Churchill died in 1965.
Well, actually, I quite like. I've got a mind that likes that, and I won't remember them. But what is the element? Maybe that's what you'll have to do, is the element each time. But what's the element for 65 then?
Oh, I'm gonna have to quickly look it up. I forgot.
Oh,
I will.
Well,
it was so unforgettable that I forgot it.
Yeah.
But I will quickly look it up. Carry on.
And while Bonds is looking that up, 65 is the former age of retirement for males in the UK.
Oh, nice.
That
one.
Is something else. That is actually something else I was going to mention, Viv. Yes.
Okay.
Beat me to it. But it's now what? It's now 67, isn't it? I believe it's been.
Yeah,
it's moved to 67.
It's going up and up. Yeah.
And am I correct? You can, or do you can cut this out if Viv objects? But is 65 not the age of yourself, your good self, Viv?
It is indeed for my sins.
And do you want that cut out?
I don't know. Does it matter?
No.
Well, you have mentioned it previously. Why I thought you wouldn't mind, but
yeah, I don't mind. I mean, it's the truth. So
Right. Number 65. Apparently, 65 is one of the lucky numbers if your zodiac sign is Gemini. If you believe anything with regards to that. And with regards to the periodic table, the chemical element with the atomic number 65 is called terbium and has a symbol TB.
They made it up. Terbium?
Sounds like terbium.
Yeah, I have actually heard of that. Yeah, yeah.
All right. Oh, okay.
So there you go. Yeah, and as I previously mentioned, Winston Churchill died in 1965. You got to say he had a very eventful life. For someone so fat and alcoholic.
Yeah.
He did all right for himself.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's about it.
He's got that great famous quote. What is it? It hit between him and Lady Speaker, I think it was, and he'd come in completely drunk into Parliament, and Madam Speaker had sort of stood up and said, "Mr. Churchill," or however they address each other, "You're drunk. You're drunk." And apparently he turned to her and said, "Madam Speaker, I may be drunk, but in the morning I shall be sober. However, you should still be ugly."
Yeah. Was that actually in the house, or I heard that was just at some kind of social gathering, at some party or something?
I might have put a few jazzes and whistles on that. Yeah, you might be right.
Yeah, that would have been extremely inappropriate, shall we say?
Yes. Yeah, true.
If you'd said that in the house. But,
I don't think you would. Yeah, I think you'd be struck off straight away, actually. Yeah, true.
In the morning I shall be sober, but madam, you shall still be ugly.
Yeah.
Boom. Boom. There you go.
Boom.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, there were some good ones for today in history. So for today, May the 21st, I go backwards and come forward in time. So the earliest one was in 1216. French Crown Prince Louis invades England with 700 ships, having been invited by English barons at war with King John. So we had a bit of dodginess going on, and the barons had invited him over, and he came over and he kicked some royal butt in 1216.
Well, obviously that was obviously unsuccessful. But it's quite interesting that the whole English-French thing around that time, the relationship between the English and the French. Sorry, 4D, I don't want to sort of go off on a tangent here, but
no, go.
Because basically the English nobility were French. They were Normans.
Mm.
You know, I mean, the whole of the English, the royal house, the royal, whatever you like to call them, they all spoke French anyway, and they didn't speak English. They all spoke French for several centuries after William William the Conqueror invaded and took over. I think even up till, what was it, Richard II, or even later than that. The nobility all spoke French.
Yeah.
So have been invaded by the French. It was kind of like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, do you know, like I like to think that I know a little bit about a lot of things. And for someone who likes England so much, I know so little about our royal family or royalty back in past. I must one day just sit and learn. And I know bits of our history from a historical point of view, but I never know when we were French invaded and Spanish and when there was Normans. I have no idea about our royal family. Maybe I just never into it.
Yeah, there are some pretty good YouTube videos, like the history of British kings and queens, stuff like that. Just search for that. They are quite long, you know, several hours long, but they go right from the beginning right through to the present day. And you may not get all of the facts. You may want to kind of specify specific monarchs that you're interested in to get more details. But there is one which goes through all of them, one after the other, and it gives you the basic sort of outline. And it's very interesting. It is.
Yeah, it is quite complicated though. So yeah, it's obviously going to take a few hours to get through it all.
It does, and it's all and it's very difficult to take it all in. It's like, you know, this king, that queen, this king, Edward did this, Edward did that, Henry did this, and it's like it all kind of like washes over you at first, and it does draw into question the whole thing about the bloodline, the royal bloodline. You kind of think this is just an absolute farce, you know.
Oh, well, it certainly is, yeah.
You know, the supposed royal family that we have today. It's like, well, you know, what? There's very little evidence to say they're actually royal at all, you know, and their bloodline stretches back through supposedly, if the bloodline of the royal family stretches back right through 1,000 years, you kind of got to ask questions about that, because there's some serious doubts when you look at it. When you look at the,
that's right, serious doubts.
Yeah. So,
I mean, Germans. Anyway.
Germans and the French, basically, yeah. The Germans and the French.
A few Dutch thrown in.
Yeah, Germans, French, Dutch, and Welsh.
Oh yeah.
Tudors were Welsh. The rest of them were all foreigners.
Oh.
Actually, a good call out for the podcast of the Lotus Eaters is I was thinking, I don't normally do subscriptions or anything, but that guy that does the morning show, is it Bow? I always forget how you pronounce the. Bo, cheers.
The beard. Yeah, the beard, yeah.
I find him very interesting. I like the way he talks, and I know that he has got a historical podcast, because I think his background is a history major. And I've often, in the last week or so, I thought, yeah, I might subscribe and just listen to him talking about the royal past.
Well, Carl Benjamin, who's the guy who started the Lotus Eaters, he's always been very good speaker, and his thing is history as well. Even going back to the days of Sargon of Akkad, when he was just a voice, you know, before he even kind of made himself known, he was always really good to listen to. A great speaker.
Didn't he? Excuse me. Didn't he rise to fame for getting his girlfriend's dog to do a Hitler salute? Is that the same one?
No, that's the Scottish guy. What was his name? I can't remember his name now. That was a Scottish guy, a different guy.
Different guy, right.
Yeah,
that was the beginning, one of the first hints of the ridiculousness that was going to come in its wake. You know, because he's doing it to annoy his girlfriend. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, to wind her up.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean he's a rabid Hitler supporter at all.
No, if anything, he was a little bit of a lefty. If anything, you know, he's a little bit on the left.
Yeah, but
But then the way
he got done for it though, didn't he?
Just a bit of a
he did,
lad.
yeah,
That's all it was. He's
Yeah,
just a bit
yeah.
of a lad.
yeah,
You've
exactly.
really got me going now. About the guy's name, I'm gonna have to look it up.
It was Carl something, wasn't it? I'm mixing them up. Damn it.
You are, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let me.
But yeah, anyway, yeah, carry on, 40.
While you look that up.
Count Dankula. Count Dankula was the guy's name.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Shit poster extraordinaire. Anyway, yeah, sorry, carry on, 40.
No, you're absolutely fine. I was gonna. So that first bit that got us talking was from 1216, and then interestingly, 200 years later, in 1420, the Treaty of Tours. It was Tours. Thank you. Henry V of England and his heirs will inherit the throne of France upon the death of Charles VI of France.
What went wrong?
Yeah, the invasion didn't go very well at all because, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, yeah. That would have been interesting.
Yeah. On the I like that it was on the death of Charles the VI, so he was allowed to stay until he died, and then Henry V was going to take over. Yeah. Again, as I say, I never know anything about those royal wars of the past.
Well, we used to own. Well, after the Normans invaded in 1066, effectively the English crown ended up owning most of France for a good few years, if not centuries. The English actually controlled most of France, and it got relinquished. I think the 100 Years' War was when it all kind of eventually sort of all got relinquished back to the French. But yeah, we used to boss the French. We used to own them.
Oh.
We used to own the world, God damn it. But anyway, right, get back to this. Then it comes all the way into 1840. This day in 1840, Captain William Hobson proclaims British sovereignty over New Zealand, the North Island by treaty and the South Island by discovery. I found that a little bit interesting about that. But so in 1840, that's when we took over New Zealand.
Oh, that's quite recent in a way, isn't it?
Isn't it? Yeah, I kind of thought that. Yeah.
I didn't know that. Australia is older though, as a British territory, I believe. Or is it? I don't know. You got me thinking now.
When did
Sorry, I missed that one.
Yes,
that was Captain.
Sorry,
Captain Cook, wasn't it? Captain Cook. He was the one who claimed Australia for Britain, wasn't he?
That was that was in the 18th century then.
Yeah,
sometime.
That's sort of Victoria's time, isn't it?
Pre-Victoria, 18th. 18th
Yeah,
is
talking Georgian times, maybe one of the Georges.
You'll probably find out those Maoris were a lot tougher to take over.
Well,
the Aborigines and the Maoris, yeah.
Very nice, interesting one for today in history. In 1916, that was when Britain started the whole summertime daylight savings time. That crap.
Oh, fuck.
So that was 1916. And I know for the last 10 years I've heard them saying they're going to scrap it. A weird thing that it's only been since 1916 and they're already like fed up with it.
So before 1916 they didn't mess with the clocks at all. They just left the clocks alone. So we were just on Greenwich Mean Time, and that was it. Nobody messed around with it. And then some idiot in 1916 says, "Oh, let's put the clocks forward in the summertime an hour."
It was for the war effort.
Yeah, and ironically,
so we're told, yeah.
Yeah,
no,
it shows how different it was when I went to school. I was just going to say, ironically, I was taught something completely different. So I was taught it was for the old farmers It was to give farmers an extra hour or whatever it was. It was something to do with milking cows, and that's why it was such an old thing. That's what I was
Yeah,
taught.
it's tied in. It's tied in with the war. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. That was to do with the war effort. So like production of food and what have you for the farmers to give them an extra hour of daylight.
Yeah.
Okay. It's just that I assumed it was a lot earlier than 1916. Then, right?
But it kind of also says something. In 1916, I mean, the First World War ended in 1918, and they obviously didn't change it back. But we survived okay previous to the First World War without swapping the clocks, moving the clocks around. So why didn't they put it back?
Well, it's convenient. People in power like to wield power. They also, one of the other things that came from the First World War was the idea of pub opening and closing hours, closing in the afternoon, basically.
Yeah, just more restrictions. So, are you saying that they used to be able to open whenever they wanted to, for as long as they wanted to?
Yeah, pretty much, depending on local custom and parish law, I suppose. But yeah. So, I mean, this is further. It's further evidence that the state is it's just gradually, slowly but surely, creeping into every corner of everyone's life. I mean, there's a great quote by who said this quote? I wish I could remember, but it essentially says that before around 1900, an Englishman would rarely meet or an agent of the state. They could go about their business. They might see a policeman occasionally, but not much else.
Yeah.
But now they're everywhere.
But not when you need them for the right reasons.
Well, you don't need them. You don't need government.
The presence of the police.
Well, the police, police.
The presence of the police would have been a good thing, I would say, because that's a preventative measure, especially in more rural areas. You had the local bobby, everybody knew the policeman, everyone was on friendly first name terms. They all knew each other, everyone, and it's all kind of very, very friendly and very, a comforting thing, but it seems nowadays they're closing police stations. You rarely see policemen on the beat anymore. And crime has exploded exponentially. So there you go,
Yeah.
Says a lot.
But there you go, because the police are institutionally racist. So that's all a good thing, isn't it? Isn't it? Oh no, maybe not.
No, well, they're institutionally shit. That's what they are now. Which is not a good thing.
A lot of this has come from the Macpherson report, though. That's when the retreat began. And also this idea of community-oriented policing. Do you remember the plastic policemen that were introduced around Blair's time?
Yeah, the community. What have they called officers? Yeah, the basically the fake policemen to do all the menial stuff. Because there weren't enough police to do it anymore. I mean, the Macpherson report, wasn't that a result of the Stephen Lawrence inquiry? Wasn't?
Oh, that's right. The findings were that the Metropolitan Police is institutionally racist. Now, this is a very strange thing to say, and a whole institution itself is racist, and you hear this a lot now. Oh, this is institutionally racist, and it needs root and branch reform. What that implies is that the entire institution of the police force is racist. Really?
Yeah, it's ridiculous as a concept, like most of it is.
Yeah, so I mean, I think it's fair to say. I think it's you can't deny that there was racism amongst the police force. I think that is fair to say.
Yeah.
And there were, and they were perhaps, it's hard to say when. Maybe 70s and 80s there was disproportionate harassment of young black males, shall we say, by the police. They were racially profiled.
Yeah,
like you say, to say something that is institutionally racist, exactly as you said, Viv, it's saying the whole institution. That means that if you want it to stop being racist, you have to break it all down and start from scratch.
Yeah, and that's what's being done. Yeah.
And it's also stupid to think that you won't get particular prejudices in a group of people that are taken from society. We all have prejudices, whether it goes to a racism or a sexism or one of those is irrelevant. You can't have an institutional racist police force, and you can't have a police force that will never have a racist in it. It's both of them are as stupid as each other.
Yeah.
Well, also, I think it's kind of self-defeating because at a certain time, I mean, maybe it was overkill. It almost certainly was overkill by the police. But at a certain time, a proportionate amount of crime was carried out by a certain demographic. I think that's fair to say as well. So it's kind of, it's kind of a difficult line to walk, because when you start kind of hitting everyone over the head with the racists stick, then you can't say anything going the other way. It's forbidden for you to say absolutely anything that goes against that, whereas there may have been some truth in that.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, I've got two more. From there we fly to 1932, which was the famous it's one of those names that I think when they say we live in a computer simulation, this is one of those names that I think they would have inserted this name because it's just a perfect name for what she was. And it's Amelia Earhart's lands in Londonderry, Northern Ireland, completing the first solo transatlantic flight by a woman. And it's the whole Earhart. It was like she was meant to fly, isn't it?
Well, yes. Yeah, I mean, her name was actually pronounced Earhart.
Yeah, I just realised that actually, but it's always been sounded like Earhart, isn't it?
Yeah. Earhart, yeah.
It's called nominative determinism.
Oh, is that the name for is that the word for a name that fits its place?
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a name that fits the job, like Mr. Baker the baker.
Right.
Mr. Cook the cook.
Onomatopoeic, in a sense, I guess you could say.
Sort of, but onomatopoeia is a word like meow.
Yeah, it sounds like the word, like the noise it's describing. Yeah,
yeah. That's it. Yeah,
in a sense, it's in that way. It's sort of like it's like the a name which sounds like what the person does.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
Oh, I love it. I learned so much. The last one.
So,
go on.
I was just going to say, Amelia Earhart, she disappeared mysteriously, didn't she? She was sometime, I can't remember the actual year, but she was doing trying to do was it around the world flight or something like that, a much longer solo flight, and she disappeared.
Antarctica.
Antarctica.
I thought it was somewhere in the Pacific somewhere. She was somewhere in Southeast Asia.
Oh, right.
She disappeared.
Yeah, I know she disappeared.
It may have been in the late 30s when she disappeared, but there are rumors that she was shot down by the Japanese. Read that. But yeah, I thought I'd add that in there. That was never.
That was the storyline. I think that's the storyline I'd heard. I can't remember. Yeah.
Yeah, basically she was never found. Her body or a wreckage of her plane was never found. She went down somewhere.
Oh, bless her. Right.
Yeah.
Was she American?
She was, yeah.
Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah, I only entered her into the British history thing because she landed in Londonderry, Northern Ireland. So I thought it was semi British thing.
That's fair enough. It's still
Yes, interesting fact.
I don't think we can. You can really do the history of the world. That would be too much. We'd be here all night on this on this day.
Yeah. Totally, absolutely. Yeah. Well, and as I was going to say, my last one, although it's last, personally for me, it's the most poignant. Shocked me actually when I read it. But so today in 1982, British troops land on the Falkland Islands in the South Atlantic to repel Argentine military invasion.
Right. Oh, it started in May. Yes, yes. I
Mm.
have memories. I have memories of waking up in the morning and hearing the news, kind of calling out the casualty list on the news in the morning on the radio. Of that time, and I remember it was around this time. It was in the springtime. I do remember that much. So I thought it was a bit earlier than May. Actually, I thought it started a bit earlier, but there you go.
Yeah, they steamed off, didn't they? It took
Well,
a while
I
to
was
get
going to
there.
say that's when they landed on the Falkland Islands.
Mm.
So they would have set off. I don't know how long the journey by ship is, but that means it would have kicked off probably 4 weeks prior to that, perhaps. I don't know.
Yeah. I can remember the progress reports as the British fleet steams towards, or I say steam, but they still say it that, I think. Do they? I don't know. Heads towards the Falkland Islands in the South Pacific, the South Atlantic.
Yeah, yeah. And so, how long did that conflict last? It was only a month or two, wasn't it? When did it end? Well, it didn't last too long, did it?
Very short, yeah, very short, and it was. I mean, it was brutal. Certainly for 1982, it was a very brutal, quick. Thing, yeah.
I did find it very poignant watching documentaries about the Falkland Islands when they were interviewing the people who fought on both sides. And they were speaking to some of the Argentine pilots and the British pilots, and they had absolute respect for each other. It was very noble, the attitudes of both of them. It was quite, like I said, quite poignant.
Air combat's always been a bit like that. You're basically you're a knight who's exchanged their horse for a mechanical bird.
Yeah.
I think certainly for me, even being an ex-squaddy, obviously it would mean a lot to me. But I went to the Falkland Islands and I think it was around about 2000, I think it was, to do a tour out there because we still have troops down there looking after the islands, so on and so forth. And it just so happened that when I went out there, it was the 50th anniversary, and so they had all the old boys coming back. And as a youngish soldier, I had to, or not had to, I was put in to go and take them out to some of the places they'd been for their own memories and stuff. First time I'd seen a bunch of men crying. I remember the whole day of meeting them, sitting with them, talking to them. Probably was one of the most eye-opening times of my time in the army, listening to these guys and sort of having a sense of awe, even though we're all human beings, and we'd all done that job. There was a certain sense of awe, and you're just sitting there watching them cry, hug each other, talking about the names they'd missed. It's going to make me fill up in a minute, but really cool, memorable moment. Yeah.
That brings to mind something in a book I read. It's a war memoir. It was one that was, if you ever saw the Band of Brothers. After that Band of Brothers, they did one called The Pacific, and it was based on the story of three Marines who fought in the Pacific. And one of them was a book. A guy called Eugene Sledge who wrote memoirs of his. He did 2 campaigns in the Pacific, and he says when he was in boot camp, when he was in training before he went out. He said he noticed in some of his drill sergeants this kind of thing they had about them, this sort of attitude they had, and it was almost like they were kind of their mind was kind of always somewhere else. I'm kind of paraphrasing it, and he said he came to realize that these were the guys who had been in combat, and there was something about them. You could always tell guys, the soldiers who had actually fought in combat, because they just had something about them, their manner, their whole persona, the way they conducted themselves.
I think they called it the 1,000-yard stare.
It wasn't that. No, that's more of kind of just that's more of a trauma thing. You know, that's more of a PTSD thing. That became famous in is that in Vietnam from that picture the guy painted. But no, it wasn't quite that. It wasn't so much a PTSD thing. It was more just a kind of an experience thing. You know, that affected their just the way they were. You know. And also just about the Falklands as well. Correct me if I'm wrong, Fordy, you may know this for sure. Was that not the last time a Victoria Cross was awarded to a British service personnel?
There hasn't been any in the last 15 years. Then yes, I think that was. I think that was. Yeah, you're probably right.
Was that not the Colonel H. Jones, you know, the guy who got killed on one of the assaults? Was it Goose Green or something like that?
Goose Green, yeah. There would, you are making me think now, but because, and I think you might be right. Yeah. Again, as I say, it was a very brutal. It was a very brutal thing that took place down there.
Was it worth it?
I mean,
I don't know. I mean, look what the UK has become. Yeah.
Apparently, the only reason we still hang on to it is because the people who live there still want to be British. But I really think if the Argentines actually made a move for it now, there is F all we could do about it, and they would take it easily. To be quite honest with you,
of course they would. Yeah.
And Milei, the president of Argentina, has actually kind of been sort of hinting at things like that at certain points as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you did that, it's a bit of a populist move, isn't it? Really. I mean, what interest is the Falklands to Argentina really in that sense? I mean, I don't know. Maybe
the interesting facts that I found out when I was out there, and again, this is what they've told us as soldiers. I don't know if this is the truth or whatever, but we were told 80% of the world's squid comes from the seas around the Falkland Islands, or the owning sea part of the Falkland Islands.
Oh.
So, again, I didn't realise that, but apparently most of the squid that you've ever eaten in your life will come from those waters, and that's worth an immense amount of money. There's also loads of untapped jewel mines. They believe there's rubies, emeralds, all of the precious jewels that are untapped at the moment. What was the other thing?
Oil.
Oil. Oh, and the oil reserves that they believe are under the Falkland Islands. So, because I think I'm also right in saying that the Falkland Islands has the most millionaires per square mile capita.
Surely Monaco.
Because it's so people don't realise why we fought for it. I also think that there's more to do with it being the closest place to Antarctica, and maybe they monitor who goes and comes, but that's more of a conspiratorial type of thing, and I didn't see anything to let me believe that was fact or anything like that. But whatever it is, it's actually worth a huge amount to the economy. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the fact that there's untapped jewel mines, jewel deposits there, makes me wonder, why are they untapped? Why are they not being tapped? If it's that valuable,
held in reserves.
Yes, I think it's like the oil out there. They haven't started taking oil from the Falkland Islands, but it's worth the reserves, I suppose. I don't know how these things work, really.
I mean, I do happen to know that. I mean, the given reason why Argentina tried to take back the Falklands in 1982 was because the military junta, who was in charge of the Argentinian government, was in serious need of popular support, and it was losing it amongst the population.
Yeah.
And so that was the move to try and prop them up and gain popular support, which obviously failed.
And the Falklands War did bring about the downfall of the junta, the Galtieri junta, I believe, later on.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So,
And of course, and it was a godsend for Margaret Thatcher as well, who's Prime Minister of the UK at the time, because she had an election coming up, and it was absolutely perfect for her as momentum to win that election.
yeah, of course. Interesting.
Yeah, probably one of her sort of strongest moments of her tenure in that house.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
But don't take it away from her, because a lesser person would have messed that up immensely. I don't know. Obviously,
absolutely.
she was for all her bad. I've often looked at her and thought about it, but I do think she was a great woman, just because, or great leader. Let's just leave it like that, because she was strong enough to take that position.
Yeah, you know, I mean, she had her faults, no doubt about that. She decimated a lot of the industrial towns in the north of England. But yeah, you know, rough with the smooth, I guess. But yeah, overall, she was a strong leader, no doubt about it. Probably the strongest leader we've had since that. We haven't had somebody as strong as her since then, which is why we're in such a shit state now.
Well, other than the just departed Queen, if some of the horror stories I have heard about her aren't true, then she was pretty good she was a nurse in the Second World War, wasn't she?
The Queen.
Oh, that was the Queen Mother. In that case, that was the Queen Mother, wasn't? No. The Queen, wasn't she? Didn't she start her time as a nurse in the Second World War?
No idea. But I mean, I think the Queen is an entirely different thing. It's like the Queen is I guess it does have some sort of say in how the country is going, but it's not like she had a hands-on, you know, like a prime ministerial sort of role in running the country. It's much more of a ceremonial, symbolic role, I think.
True. The truth be known, they don't have any strength
and
at all.
There are some things about, you know, there are some rumours about the Queen, which kind of, I mean, recently I think there was I just saw something in the paper today, in one of the papers today, online papers, saying about how there's these pictures of her doing a Nazi salute back in the day have surfaced, and how they're causing all sorts of problems.
Yeah,
you know, and ructions within.
I've seen those pictures.
Yeah, when they were younger, you know, around the time of, well, before the war, when before the true horror of Nazism was really unveiled, was really released.
There was
even if you've got a picture of someone doing that back then, they could have been doing it to take the mickey out of it. It would have been a different time. You can't sort of have a go for someone for doing that. You have no idea what the context was, and I'm sure a lot of people did that.
They could have been hailing a taxi.
Well, yeah.
No, it's a picture in a garden with her and
all of them.
Margaret.
The whole family's doing it.
Yeah,
the whole family. Yeah.
But then again, there was a lot of support for the Nazi regime in the 1930s from the upper class, and indeed a number of parliamentarians. I mean, think of what were they called? The Mitford sisters. I don't know if you know about them, but yeah, they were.
Heard of them? Yeah,
Mitford. Yeah, they were upper class. One of them was a communist. One of them was a Nazi. So it must have been an interesting around the dinner table. But
I mean, it's like, how deep do you want to go down the whole conspiracy theorist thing? You know, the whole Nazi royal family. Nazis didn't lose the Second World War. You know, we could spend 2 hours talking about stuff that could be going on there or could have been going on.
Well, I mean, in the 30s, the Nazis were a perfectly legitimate, and I suppose for the most part, a respectable political party. You know, I mean, Germany. I mean, Hitler, right? For all his discretions, or if you like to say, in the Second World War, pulled Germany right up out of the doldrums and got it right back on track. And that they held the Olympics in 1936. If he'd have been seen by the world as such a bad person, that wouldn't have happened. They 3 years before Second World War, and they held the Olympics. So
Yeah.
it was kind of, so they were getting a lot of admiration. There was a lot of admiration in the West, in America, and in this country for what Hitler did in Germany and what he was doing in Germany and how he did it and how he got the country back on its feet and made it strong again.
Yeah, and if you believe in the various books that, what's he called? Anthony. Oh, he wrote a book called Wall Street and the Rise of Hitler, and he documented a number of banks, not only United States banks, but also Dutch banks, and a figure called Prescott Bush was involved in this, in funding the Nazi war machine. Prescott Bush was, I believe, the grandfather of George Bush, who became the president. So, and what's his? Oh, Anthony Sutton is his name. Wall Street and the Rise of Hitler.
That Anthony, he wasn't related to. Oh no! Sorry, I'm getting confused now. No, sorry. Carry on. Ignore me.
Yeah, no, that's a book called Conspiracy, but I have read it, and it does seem it does seem that he's put a lot of research into it.
Yeah, I mean, I think kind of sort of discounting something as conspiracy doesn't really hold much water these days because so many conspiracies are coming true.
Well, yeah, I mean,
absolutely.
To say something, well, it was just a conspiracy. It's like, well, yeah, okay. And
no, I don't see it as a negative anymore. Anyway, when I say conspiracy, I'm quite proud of that.
No, conspiracy theory. It has been used for a long time to belittle certain researchers and people who's really, in some ways, have proven to be correct.
A conspiracy theorist is just coming up with theories on something they've heard. There is nothing dodgy or weird about that. I think you're a better thinking person if you want to call yourself a conspiracy theorist, because all it means is you're taking things that you've been told and you're working out yourself if that's what you believe as well.
Well, yeah,
you're open to more options, aren't you? I mean, we don't have the answer, so it's like you've got to consider as many options as possible, surely.
Go on. You're testing the veracity, the truth of something, really, and attempting to build a case, really, in a sense, for something. And this can be very painful for some people, especially if it does turn out to be correct.
Well, I actually know someone who he has a visceral physical reaction to just the mention of the word conspiracy theories. It drives him into a frenzy, almost. He just get completely just kind of goes, no, it's rubbish. It's I hate it. Really, it really physically affects him. He can't countenance it at all.
Yeah,
it's just like, what's wrong with you? What is wrong? Why are you reacting so extremely to it? It's like, that's really weird.
I know why. Yeah, loads of people are like that, though. Because it shatters their carefully constructed schema in their minds, that narrative we all carry around with us. And when that gets broken, you react furious. The brain puts out just a spurt of anger. Because you're, in a sense, yourself is being attacked.
Yeah, they just love the government and they love the government narrative.
Yeah, or they're deeply held beliefs.
Yeah, they can't bear the idea that the TV is lying to them.
No, because that means that they'd be taken for, no, I was going to say fools, but really as just mistaken, should we say?
Yeah.
I kind of
That's,
it's weird. Maybe it's just that we look at things differently because even I was just thinking about the whole flat Earth thing. I remember getting into the flat Earth thing right from the start. I didn't think that was real, but I've got one of those minds that goes, right, okay, let's have a look at what they're saying here and see. And for a while, I was kind of convinced or persuaded, so I listened a bit more, and I was like, oh, this is really interesting. Then I came to my own conclusion. I'm not embarrassed that I, for a while, thought, oh, I think the world's flat now. I just think it's part of learning, and why can I? How can I get angry? Yeah. It's a silly concept.
Well, I remember. I don't know if you guys remember the first time we ever came on here to chat, and it was the three of us, but there was a few, there was two or three other people as well, and we all came on, and it was all like we were kind of we just joined, we'd just been invited over here, and we'd all joined up, and they had this live chat feature, and we all kind of arranged to start. Let's get online and have a chat, and we did so. I think there's about five of us. I think you three, you two probably remember who the other two were.
Yeah.
And we were all kind of just, sort of tentatively kind of just checking each other out. And somebody raised the question, what's the craziest conspiracy theory that you've kind of entertained? And I think one of us kind of went, well, kind of very tentatively said, well, flat Earth. And everyone went, oh yeah. And it was kind of like the real uncertainty about mentioning it, but as soon as someone mentioned it, everyone's like, "Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah, that's me too." Everyone sort of agreed, and it was quite it was quite funny. Once we all kind of realised that we're kind of more or less on the same page, there, it was like all the uncertainty just disappeared, and we were just chatting about it freely.
Yeah, I mean, I used to think the chemtrails business. I thought, no, come on. But then I've noticed quite a few things, particularly the number of companies that are involved in geoengineering. And I've looked a bit into geoengineering, and yes, it is a thing. And yes, there are clear plans that they want to dim the sun.
Yeah, I think that that cat is out of the bag. I think that was in Congress getting talked about. I don't know why it hasn't been stopped yet, because funnily enough, I noticed today there was loads of chemtrails over here today.
Yeah,
the dimming the sun was openly admitted to. Whether they're actually doing it or not as yet, I'm not sure. But yeah, I mean, certainly the intention to do it. I think Bill Gates was big on that, wasn't he? He came out and mentioned that.
Yeah.
And cloud seeding absolutely exists. Cloud seeding is they do it in hot countries to try and make it rain.
Yeah.
And that is kind of, I mean, do you remember, was it a year or two ago, they had those massive rainfall in Dubai, I think it was, somewhere like that. Yes. And they said they had about like 6 months rainfall in one day, and it completely washed out the place. It was almost a massive disaster. And they said, oh yeah, it's because they've been cloud seeding. And that is geoengineering. That is basically spraying chemicals in the sky. That is what cloud seeding is.
Exactly. Yeah.
Again, the first known use of cloud seeding was in the Vietnam War. Sorry. I think, again, I'm pretty sure I'm right in saying it came up in Congress at some point about the fact that they'd made it rain to make it harder for the Viet Cong, was it? Yeah. Whatever it was, they cloud seeded the whole thing. Probably the first time the CIA used the Americans, probably first time they used that as a weapon. How many earthquakes are made? But oh god, no! Don't get me off on one. But let's stick with cloud seeding. Yeah.
Yeah, earthquakes is another rabbit hole as well.
And it just Even to the point that there's no such thing as moving tectonic plates, and there's no such thing, and they're all just man-made.
Well, I've not heard that, but it wouldn't, that's
Oh, that's when you go really down deep in that rabbit hole. Well, coming back out of conspiracy theories, I was going to start with this, but we as we always do, we had a great chat about other stuff. But it was the whole UTK march at the weekend just gone. So I just wanted to say a few bits about that because I'd gone along to it. It was a really, really good day. The numbers were. It's all I always say. It's really hard when you're there. You can't judge at all. You don't know how many. But having been on the one where there was definitely 1 million plus there, it was nothing like that. By the same token, it was nothing like the small ones in the first 1 or 2 years that we did it. I believe I think I've heard that there was about 100,000. I've also heard there was more than 100,000, but whatever. The numbers were what they were. I went down. I'm chuffed because I took another 2 people down for their first time. And actually, I'm not going to say too much about them because of what it was a really cool. Yeah, so I took 2 people down, young 20-year-olds. They came out of their university. They wanted to see. One of them knew me, and they wanted to know what it was all about firsthand, which is so cool. They came down, and there was loads of what do you call them? Drones out, loads. Don't know if they were from the crowd filming, or if it was the police, or if it was Tommy. I know Tommy had one out to try and get an idea of how many people were there. Anyway, the 2 that I were with constantly kept on looking down and hiding their faces, and I was kind of watching them and thinking. And I said, and I put my hand on his shoulder, and I said, like, mate, honestly, you got no worries here. You're in good hands. And he said, no, it's the drones. And I said, oh, don't worry. It's probably, whatever. And it was just the fact that they both said, well, we can't let the university, if the university sees our faces, we're screwed. And it was another reminder of how fucked we are in this country. And the 2 that did turn up, I'm bigging you both up. I'm not going to say who you are just because of what you said about that part. Obviously, I don't want to get you into trouble, but it's people like you that are going against the authoritative narrative to have a look at things for yourself. So glad you both came down because you both, they really enjoyed it. Yeah, which is the best thing you want to achieve when you take someone down there. They're pretty much lefties, both of them. Which, yeah, it's not their fault. But they had a completely different idea of what the racist, sexist, bigoted, far right thug Nazi party of us was going to look like. And thankfully, there was not a single problem. People were shaking our hands. It was because I put my berry on, so that always gets a few handshakes. But they got to see the real far right. Obviously, I'm making a joke because that's not what we are. And yeah, I'm dead chuffed, dead proud that I got another 2 down there. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I will say that. Sorry, Viv, go on.
Oh, I did watch some of it on the live stream and some of the later reports. It did look very peaceful. A lot of elderly people there. I was astonished at the number of police involved. There were 4,000 at least.
I got there 2 hours before the whole thing was even going to start, and we watched about 100 completely, fully rioted up police run past us as they jogged down the streets, showing their presence. And before there was even a flag up outside, it was just ridiculous. Their show of force or their disrespect for our side of things is disgusting. Really is. 4,000, is that how many there were?
Apparently so.
Crazy.
Yeah, apparently the whole policing operation, because there was the United Kingdom rally, there's also the tea towel wearing anti-Jewish lot, the pro-Palestine lot, having a counter march. And also, as I mentioned last week, there was the FA Cup final, the football match at Wembley. And they reckon that the total amount, the cost of the whole policing operation for everything was about £5 million, which is insane. I mean, this is taxpayers' money, all right? I mean, we were discussing, I don't want to get into this one again, last week about whether the the one of the demonstrations should have been maybe postponed or put off, and Viv, you were very strongly saying no, we should never try and either stop or the right to protest should always be there. And I kind of think, well, when the taxpayer is paying so much money for the policing operations, then I think people should be able to have a choice in that. But sorry, I don't want to get into that one. But but with regards to the numbers, 4D, I think I mean, because obviously I wasn't there with you this time, but last time we were in a position to kind of get a pretty good idea when we were sitting by the river waiting to move off, and we could see them coming over the bridge. The street that we were on was completely full and waiting to go. And we could see them coming over Blackfriars Bridge from where we were. And it was a constant stream for whatever it was. Half an hour we were there, sitting there, maybe a bit longer. And then when we did eventually start moving off, we couldn't even, we got stuck on Westminster Bridge. We couldn't even get across Westminster Bridge. And so that really did bring it home, the amount of people. And then, of course, there was footage of the aerial view. And that was just phenomenal. It was just absolutely rammed. We had like Whitehall, Parliament Square, Westminster Bridge, and all the way along the south, all the way back to Blackfriars Bridge was just completely packed with people. So that gave a really good idea of how many people. Whereas this time, perhaps you didn't quite get that sort of, bit being there on the ground, you didn't quite get that sort of vantage point. And I actually haven't seen any aerial footage of the event this time either. So I can't, so I've not really been able to make any judgments, but I'm sure there weren't as many people as last time. I think pretty much everyone has said there wasn't as many people, but it still looks like it was at least 100,000. I'd probably say more.
Yeah, I've seen drone footage. It looks pretty big. Yeah. But as regards this idea of demonstrations and they're permitted demonstrations, I don't believe in permitted demonstrations. So
no, a demonstration should be just spontaneous.
Well, they have to. They have to take into account safety, don't they? Because that's the angle they always use, keeping everybody safe. And if they just willy-nilly allow everyone to demonstrate, that if they had two opposing demonstrations, it's going to kick off, and there's going to be trouble, and it's going to be chaos. And so there is the whole thing about they've got to keep them apart. They've got to be organised, strictly organised. The police have got to know exactly what's going on, on each side, and this, that, and the other. So that's always the angle they use.
Yeah, of course. I take that point. Of course. I mean, maybe what a lot of what I'm saying is more idealistic than practical.
Well, yeah. It's like a lot of things. Laws and rules already exist for not punching, attacking, spitting at. So you should let everyone protest whatever they're protesting. But as soon as they cross the legal line of being aggressive, which usually is the Antifa side of things, then they should be stopped from doing what. That's where we get into whether it's free speech and freedom of expression. And it's like, no, now you're breaking the law. Fuck off the streets. Because
but they know that's going to happen. So they always, we say we don't want that to even start happening, because that will definitely happen if we don't put preventative measures in place. So that's do you know what I mean? It's it's there's no doubt that that's going to happen. There's going to be violence if they don't actually put measures in place beforehand.
Well, that's the fine line of pre-crime, really, because you're saying, right, we think there's going to be, so we're going to put 4,000 police. Well, now I think you're being silly. But now if the same people are kicking off, now get the police down. Now it's not your. Do you get what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a tricky line, isn't it?
It is a tricky one. Yeah.
Well, there's also the point as well that there's no doubt it's like two-tier policing is going on here as well. I mean, the attitude towards the UTK march is different from it is towards the tea towel mob, right? They announced beforehand the police will be using, for the first time, facial recognition only for the United Kingdom march, not only for the Palestine lot.
Yeah.
Like, what? What are you talking about? Why is that?
Well, it's
And
easier to as a experimental testing ground to just to test out the
but how
efficacy of facial recognition, because a lot of people on the Palestine March as well, apart from the two-tier idea, cover their faces. But
Yeah, but
people.
it's so obviously provocative. Why didn't they just say we're going to be rolling out facial recognition? I mean, if it's just a testing thing, why didn't they just say we're going to be rolling out facial recognition across the board? But they didn't do that. They just specifically said we're going to be using it for the United Kingdom,
Yeah, of course
which
they
is
wanted trouble. Of course they
yes,
wanted.
exactly. It's
Of
openly
course,
provocative. They wanted it to kick off on that side.
yeah.
Absolutely,
Well,
absolutely. Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's also a way of thinning out the numbers, because a lot of people sit there and go, "Oh, I don't want to be up there. They're going to be facially profiling me." Again, it's a way of just beating the crap out of the whole demonstration. They also, the night before, they took half an hour off of the whole program time. So again, you imagine you're Tommy and Tommy's team, they'll have things written down, like this person goes on at this time and it's in for 2.5 minutes, then we do this. They waited till the last minute and said, "Oh, we're taking half an hour off," and then before they cancelled loads of people. So it could just be that they wanted to ruin the party.
Oh
Yeah,
yes, of course they did. Of course they did. They wanted, they ideally they didn't want it to happen at all. I mean,
Of course,
they did
yeah.
their very best. They did absolutely everything apart from cancelling it. I mean, beforehand, Starmer came out and made that ridiculous speech. The usual far right division, fascist, blah 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 blah, and he looks so ridiculous. And then Lammy came out and said something similar as well. Released statements the day before, and it was just like, my God, you're so.
I'm glad they
Oh,
came. I'm glad they came out with that. It pleased me, because it shows their true colours. They're calling all ordinary British people who are very worried about the state of affairs in their country and the direction of travel. They're calling them names. They're not
yeah,
addressing their concerns in the slightest. They're simply
yeah.
dismissing them by calling them names, and the more they use those names, the less effective they'll be.
Yeah, and also I noticed as well the media coverage was there was much more media coverage of the whole thing this time than there was previously. Especially, I mean, the mainstream had the usual kind of, they'd report on it, far right rally, blah 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 blah, pro Palestine rally, blah 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 blah, policing operation, etc. etc. Keir Starmer has come out and said this, but you had the more the more so-called right-wing outlets like GB News and Talk TV, and they were all over it. They were reporting on it all day, and they weren't kind of smearing it or knocking it back. And you actually had several of the presenters saying, "Oh, I'm going to go down there and have a look for myself." And all of them, they're all criticizing Starmer for saying what he said and basically saying this is not far right. These are normal people with genuine concerns, and they're not being listened to. So this is why they feel the need to come out on this day. And you had the presenters who actually went down there, and they all said the same thing. They said, one of them said, it was actually a black woman from Nana Akua. She's a presenter on GB News. She says, I was in, she says, if it was far right, I would not have been welcome there at all. I spoke to everyone. She said, the biggest threat I had was being hugged to death.
Yeah, yeah.
She says that was the biggest threat I faced amongst
Yeah,
all these people.
but isn't
So, yeah.
yeah, there were a lot of ethnic minorities. Can you call non-white Brits that? But yeah, there was a number of non-white Brits also in the crowd and also reporting as well.
Yeah,
And
there always have been. There always
yeah,
have
of
been.
course they have. Of course they have. Of course they have. I mean, the whole far right label is really silly and self-defeating for these fools that use it. Because I can turn around and say that why don't I start using it and say the far right government of Keir Starmer, the far right government, a far right spokesman, David Lammy,
Yeah,
just turn it around, use the enemy's weapon against them.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if someone with a big enough voice should start doing that.
Yeah,
But I also there is something I would like to bring up. You did a little post about the United Kingdom rally, Viv, on your Substack on the Drift,
yeah.
and basically you kind of said that it sort of ended up basically saying the fact that it's called Unite the Kingdom is something that you kind of find hard to kind of come
The
to terms
kingdom.
with.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
kingdom. Yeah,
Because
I
what did
know.
you say? Assumes a king who is not worthy of the title, and I
Yeah,
kind of thought, Viv, it's like I think you're kind of over intellectualizing it here because it's
yeah.
just a label. It's just, I mean, the whole thing about it is uniting these groups of people.
The peoples,
The
yeah.
English, the Scottish, the Welsh, the Northern Irish, and the
Yeah,
only
I
real
guess so.
effective label for them is the United Kingdom. It's not ideal, but it's not. That's not the. It's just a convenient term, and it's not the organisers of the event who chose that name for them. It's just.
It's a
So
yeah, it's a political conglomeration
yeah,
of countries. Yeah,
yeah.
I see what you mean. I'm just really down on Prince Charles and the idea of the
Yeah.
king and
But it's
you know
nothing to do with the monarchy or the royalty. It's
no
just I mean,
no
they are kind of trying to spread it, and it's because the United Kingdom label has been in place for the last, I don't know, 4D, was it just the last time they introduced it, or was it the one before that? But it's not been there all the time.
No,
But
that's
Mm.
just
right.
for
Yeah.
just for this one, because they know it's a movement and it's growing, and they're kind of adding on to Unite the Kingdom and then Unite the West. So it's not just the UK; it's maybe the whole of Europe and maybe even the US. And so it may kind of actually, if it continues to grow, it may actually move on from being just Unite the Kingdom to being Unite the West.
yeah,
You know,
that's fair enough. Yeah, that's fair
you know.
enough. Yeah,
So
yeah. I think
yeah,
I'm
I just
getting
wanted to.
just with words with me. I always look at words and um,
Yeah, yeah. I just
and
wanted
it's a bit over. Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, I think you're right to bring that up, and it is a bit over intellectualizing it or focusing on words. Words are important, of course, as we've often
Yeah, no,
spoken
I mean,
about.
everything you said, I agree with it. Everything you said in that little bit you wrote, I kind of thought that it's you kind of you came you started it off saying all the things that you kind of support the general thing about it, and then you kind of ended up saying I have a problem with the fact that it's called that you're using the word kingdom, and so because you ended on that, it seemed like that was kind of
A point.
you know
Yeah,
yeah, that was kind of more what you felt rather than the support of it, and I kind of thought.
yeah. Oh, a bit of a misstep, maybe.
That's right. Yeah, yeah. I don't want to knock you down, but I thought,
No,
oh,
no,
Viv, I've got.
no. Yeah, yeah. I've got a bone to pick with you, young man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wait,
yeah,
mate. Yeah.
yeah. No, good point, actually. Good point. What else
And
could it be
Yeah.
called? I suppose. What else could it be called? You
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. It's just
unite
so
the nation, but what nation?
exactly.
Mm.
Yeah. I mean, you could say unite the English, Scottish, Welsh, and Northern Irish, but that's a bit of a mouthful. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
I've
and
always
then,
liked I've actually always liked the term the Britons,
yeah, but you know what? That doesn't include Northern Ireland.
and that's why it was
Britain.
changed. I know, but I've always liked that as
Exactly.
just a term for us with the
And
Britons.
the
Well,
Britons. Yeah. I
yeah.
mean, if you say unite Britain, that sounds like a political party, and it doesn't include
Mm,
the Northern Irish. Or
mm,
Yeah,
unite
yeah.
mm.
unite the British is kind of the same deal.
And I
The
Bloody
also,
Irish.
Britons,
The Irish have
yeah.
always
sorry,
been a damn problem.
No, I know. I notice there are a lot of Irish flags as well. So
yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Well, the
yeah, yeah.
Republic. I mean, there was a lot of there was actually an Irish speaker. I mean, we're talking about Southern Ireland now. We're not talking about
Yeah,
part
yeah,
of the
yeah,
UK,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Republic of Ireland. And there was
Yep.
a guy from the Republic speaking. There was a lot of Irish flags, which also kind of refutes your objection to the kingdom because they're
Yeah,
Republicans.
I
They're the Republic. They're
yeah,
not no fans of the royal family either.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I stand suitably chastised or perhaps reproached, and I accept that.
It's
All
actually
right.
a real shame. It's a real shame you weren't there, Viv, because the gentleman that came down with me um, was a flag nut. In fact, as I say, they were both university students, are very intelligent people, and he was doing. I believe he was. I think I'm going to get this wrong, but I think he was doing military tactics and history. I think it was, but whatever. He was into flags. And normally, when I go out, I'm kind of quite a knowledgeable person with flags, and then I kind of meet you, and I knew you knew a lot more about flags. This guy knew so many of the flags, and there was so many different flags up there. And I was, if he does happen to listen to this, I was trying to explain your anarchist flag. Could you just really quickly give me a breakdown of what your
Yeah.
personal anarchist flag is?
Well, it's it's the red and black with a cross with a I forget the term for this, but running along,
Triangular kind of thing.
yeah, triangular diagonally. You've got red at the top, black at the bottom. In the middle, there's a Christian cross. Part of that is black on the red, and part of that is red on the black, and that's essentially the flag. And during the no to digital ID people, a lot of people were asking me about this, and also actually one of the other people was carrying a flag of Suffolk as well, one of the flags of Suffolk. But I think if I do go to that London again, I'll probably fly the flag of St Edmund, which is the white dragon on a red background.
I love that flag, the St
Mm.
Edmunds
Oh
flag. I
yeah,
really
oh
like
yeah,
that flag.
yeah,
But also, I think it should be about your anarchist flag, Viv. It's
yeah.
the Christian anarchist flag, isn't it? It's not just anarchist;
Oh
it's a
yeah, no,
Christian.
it's yeah. It's not the it's not the A in a circle, the usual the usual flag. No, it's a Christian anarchist flag based on various Christian anarchist writers who say that Christianity is really a religion of freedom.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. But
You know,
the Suffolk flag, there's the flag St Edmunds, the white dragon on the red background.
yeah,
That's a fantastic flag. I'd
it's a
quite hope
great
it.
flag. Yeah, I've got
There was so many different Crusader flags out this time, and again, that's what I mean. I didn't know, I hadn't seen hardly any of them, but there was a real old fashioned feel to the UTK. There was some really obscure flags that I've never seen before.
yeah. They're probably regional flags.
Yeah, yeah.
Like who really knows about the Suffolk flag? There's two actually, and then the flag of East Anglia and the flag of St Edmund, the dragon flag. Which I think I've got that on my wall, and it always makes me laugh. It's such a funny dragon. It's absolutely bloody brilliant, actually.
But I think
So
that's what I'm saying. I think that's what I like about it is that there's all these little unknown flags from the shires coming out, and it's a really nice thing to see.
mm, mm,
Little old lady with a sort of Suffolk flag, and little old man with his Dover flag. All these things that we don't see every day. It's quite nice to see it, and
mm.
and also I say it all the time, but when you hear like 100,000 people cheering or chanting or singing, there is such the way it echoes through the streets in London. Um, hearing a whole 100,000 people singing Keir Starmer's a wanker, for instance, just made your hair stand up. Genuinely, it was like really cool and coy and weird at the same time, but really cool.
It's a bit like football chants, which are
Yeah,
fascinating. Where do they come from? Who starts this? I mean,
yeah.
everyone now knows that Keir Starmer's a wanker, but who started that? Where did
I
that
know. And
come from?
have you ever tried to start a chant? Like
Yeah,
it
I have.
doesn't always
Yeah,
take
yeah,
off. It's a
I
very
have.
Unsuccessfully many
serious
times.
thing.
Yeah, I have
Well,
tried
I mean,
to start in chants. Yeah,
well,
yeah,
they always kind of,
they're terrible. Mine are terrible. I tell you, terrible,
well,
terrible.
well, the football chants are, some of them are really funny, right? Because
Mm.
they make up songs and they catch on, and like you say, you do wonder how they catch on. You go to a football match and some of the things you hear the crowd chanting are just hilarious. But they do quite often. I mean, that Keir Starmer is a wanker is that they take on a melody. I mean, that is from that Seven Nation Army song.
That's
Okay.
right. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
is it?
Down, you know.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Keir Starmer's a wanker.
Yeah,
You
it's
know,
like they
it's
take the catchy tunes, isn't it?
Mm.
yeah. I mean, they used to sing like Arsenal, the football club Arsenal, back in whenever it was. When they had a team, they used to win 1-0 a lot, right? They had a pretty boring team, but they used to win a lot just by one goal. And they always used to sing 1-0 to the Arsenal, which is like that the Pet Shop Boys song. You know, da, da,
Oh,
da,
yeah.
da, da, da. And they just always pick these kind of pop melodies and make their own chants to them. So
Yeah. No,
yeah,
some of the football chants are unbelievably funny, and
they are.
and it just does amaze me how the crowd picks it up. It's like it's a social contagion. Somebody starts singing it, and then they got it, and it's so. Don't know where it all comes from, to be honest. Some chants work, some don't. Mine never worked. They were embarrassing in retrospect, you know.
Well, yeah, that's the price you pay for a failed attempt, isn't it? You just end up looking like
Yeah, I mean,
like a sad idiot.
who wants to chant about like I tried to things like stop the fourth industrial revolution? What the hell? What the actual hell?
Yeah,
I'm
it's got to be something.
originally from Portsmouth, and I always Portsmouthians, or Portsmouth is called Pompey in the football world, and our chant was "Play up Pompey, play up Pompey, Pompey, play up," and it was just like that is the most non-thought out, boring shit chant I've ever heard.
Yeah,
Most of them are though. Most of them are.
Yeah.
They really are just really quite sort of mind-numbingly simple and boring.
I used to like that one. Who are you? Who are you? Do you remember that one? No.
No, I was never really
no.
into football, to be honest.
I'm not really into football, although Towan have gone up, as you might have noticed.
Oh yeah, back up. Yeah,
Back up.
The town.
Yeah, the Towan.
The old tractor boys.
That's right, boy. Yeah.
I literally have no idea on any of those words.
Ipswich Town we're talking about.
Right,
yeah.
right.
Yeah, gone up again. Go down next season. No, don't say that, Viv.
Yeah.
Hey, look,
anyway,
we've really dribbled on.
We don't often talk about sport. We don't often talk about sport. So probably for a good reason.
Yeah.
But I've noticed we've dribbled on and the time's getting on, and I really just, even if it's just quick, I did want to just mention the whole story with this Henry Nowak.
Nowak.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is it Nowak or Novak? It's Nowak,
well,
isn't it?
It's spelt with a W, but I think that sounds like it's Eastern European, which is probably pronounced Novak. In their lingo.
Yeah.
The least we can do is try and pronounce that young gentleman's name correctly. But I'm sure you're both aware of the story. It's and I think I briefly said to Viv earlier, like just from a PTSD point of view, it really made me feel sick. But what a horrendous story the whole story is. It points out the ridiculousness of our police. It shows the contempt. If someone says I've been stabbed, the point that they just didn't even bother checking that.
Well, let's just outline the story first of all.
Thank you. Yeah.
Do you want to do that, or do you want me to do that?
No, you go. Yeah, go for it, buddy.
All right, yeah. Well, but basically, this guy, he was out for a night out. I think it was in Southampton, and he got stabbed by this. I think it was a Sikh guy. He had a ceremonial dagger. He got stabbed. The police came along. The Sikh guy said he acted in self-defense because this guy Henry Nowak was racially abusing him. And the police handcuffed Henry Nowak, who had been stabbed and who was bleeding out, right? Because he'd been accused of saying something racist. And he was saying to them, I've been stabbed, and the police basically didn't believe him. They handcuffed him because the accusation of him saying something racist was obviously of more importance to the fact that he had been stabbed and was bleeding to death, and he died of his wounds.
In the back of
And
their
it's
car.
just, yeah, and it's so. I mean, it's just it just shows how completely captured the police have become with whatever you want to call it, woke, DEI, race baiting, everything. It's just completely gone way too far. And it gets to this.
Racial politics. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's shocking.
So, yeah.
I've also heard he said, "I can't breathe." Which
Yes,
someone else
That's
said.
right.
Someone
It's,
else said
I
that.
think
it's very chilling,
Yeah.
isn't it? Because, and in fact, I'm glad you just said that very quickly. I remember Keir Starmer, a picture of him on one knee for that scumbag that they called George Floyd, that started a whole freaking scumbag revolution of that got all the way over here, and yet I've not heard a single thing for what's happened. And yet the chilling part that's the same is that Floyd, he said he couldn't breathe, which was all because of his own doing, and I don't care, he was a scumbag anyway. And that boy, that poor 15-year-old boy, said the same and was ignored, and no fucker is standing up for him.
Yes, well, apparently the Elon Musk has got involved in this, and he is offering to fund any kind of any kind of legal costs for an investigation into this. And the police officers involved must be held to account. And if they were acting. If their defence was, well, we were just acting from, these are procedures that we've been told to carry out, then whoever's outlined those procedures must also be held to account. This cannot be allowed to go unaccounted for.
Yeah.
And also, it also raises a question of the carrying a knife. The Sikh, I mean, the Sikhs are allowed to carry ceremonial daggers, apparently, because it's a religious whatever.
Yeah.
I'm fed up with this bullshit. It's like, so
Yeah,
as an
and
Englishman, I'm not allowed to have a fucking pencil sharpener in my possession, but someone that says they're Sikh can come over. And by the way, I'd like to say I do know a Sikh person, and he's a lovely, lovely man. So I'm not saying it, but how dare you say that you can have your 21-inch knife and I can't even have a potato peeler? It's fucking. I hate swearing as well. Sorry, like it's just getting to the point where it's just making me so angry. Everything is.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean, we should not be allowing exceptions for religion. I mean, Sikhs are allowed to wear motorbikes without a helmet. It's the law to ride. If you ride a motorbike, you have to wear a helmet. But because Sikhs wear a turban, they're allowed to ride a motorbike without a helmet because they wear a turban.
Yeah, not anymore.
And again, it's just like this. This is just ridiculous. It shouldn't be allowed. Yeah, Vic,
well,
you're about to say.
Yeah. I'm about to say something. Any country, and I'm going to take a contrary view. Here we go, as I sometimes do. We've been disarmed in this country. We've been disarmed. Any state that disarms its citizens is very afraid of the citizens. For example, in Iran, the citizens are disarmed. Yep. Because the state is afraid of the citizens.
Same in Australia, same in New Zealand, same here. Yeah.
I mean, there are more guns in the American state of is it? Oh God, I've forgotten. Tennessee, than there are in the whole of Iran. And Iran is a massive country, so they've been disarmed, and it tells you something about the state. It tells you something about the British state that we have been disarmed. We don't. And so we have no means to defend ourselves. Women, how can a woman defend herself apart from a can of deep heat? It's not really quite enough, is it? They're not allowed to carry guns. None of us are allowed to carry guns.
Well, you know what they do now. What they're being advised to do, women, is to carry a rape alarm. Now, I fail to see how that's going to help. I don't even know what a fucking rape alarm sounds like. So how's that going to make any difference? I mean, how many people know what a rape? If they hear a rape alarm, what they're gonna? Oh, what's that? Oh, what's that?
I
It sounds
think
like a car alarm.
it's a bloody car alarm going off,
Yeah.
isn't
I
it?
mean, it's not going to stop anybody. You actually need something. If you're being assaulted physically, you need something to actually stop the person assaulting you in one way
Yeah,
or another. Some kind of physical,
yeah.
action that's going to actually stop them. Not just a noise, which may or may not alert the attention of a passerby, who may or may not actually come and help you. It's just it's ridiculous.
I think in a lady's handbag, a small precision engineered Italian handgun would look very pleasant.
Yes, very chic.
It would look
I'll tell you
very,
what,
very
if
chic.
women's handbags are if the if women's handbags are anything to go by the cliche, they'd probably spend 10 minutes rummaging around in it to find it amongst all
Yeah.
the other stuff in there.
Yes. Yes. I know.
Yeah, the irony is a lot of the women I know carry something in their purse or their handbag, and because it's got
Yes,
too
I mean,
scary, but they have to go to
yeah,
backstreet places to get these sprays and these things that they're not legally allowed to cut. That's why I have to be really careful with. But
Britain is becoming the rape capital of Europe now. According,
sad, isn't it? So sad.
yeah.
There shouldn't be such a thing. There shouldn't be a rape capital anywhere.
No.
no, yeah. It's everything. I mean, we were saying we were tired, and it's the news is just it's constant, this absolute dribble, and that whole Henry story really affected me this week, just because I was like, it just sums up everything: the lunacy, the incompetence, the two-tieredness, the putting my dad head on. I again, if that was my boy, there's not much you could do to stop me. That is the most.
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah.
the bloke who stabbed the young man been arrested for his essentially murder?
No, he didn't murder him. He defended himself because the other racist twat
Apparently,
was.
that's the allegation, isn't it? He defended
Yeah,
himself against some words.
yeah.
That was which kind of apparently the guy said something racist towards him, and he defended himself against some words by stabbing him. That doesn't sound. If that is the case, that is not a defense against words. You don't need to stab someone because of what somebody said to you.
No,
You
and
can.
as you say, but it's even if that's true, I think that's the other part about the whole George Floyd and this guy. This guy is the opposite to George Floyd. It sounds like he was a really nice guy. I'm sure he, like us all, can be a bit of a tit sometimes, but I don't think whatever it is, I don't think there probably is any racial element to it. I think it probably was just
Even so, he didn't. Even so, he didn't deserve to get stabbed.
no.
Even so,
Yeah, that's
even
right.
if he did say something racist, it's like, I'm not defending that, but stabbing him is not the appropriate response.
Have you not heard the new? Have you not heard the new way it works? Apparently,
Yes,
words
I
are
have been.
violence. Words are violence. You see.
Yeah. Even though it was sticks and stones will break my bones, but names will never hurt me. That's how I grew up. That was a
Oh,
we learned.
it's long gone. That has words are violence now. So I guess if you object to the words which are violent, you consider to be violent, then you use violence back to the person who's used the violence. That's
There was
the
a very
twisted
Men
logic,
have
isn't it?
become weak. As I say, back in my day, you didn't turn up with knives, and you showed your manliness by having a fist fight, or whatever, a street fight, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. In the gang warfare, there was other things. But the average bloke, it was a fisticuffs, as we would call it.
Yeah.
All the men have disappeared. Now they have to have their knives to protect them. It's disgusting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you see that there's a group that Tommy Robinson was promoting who are now getting men together to become more manly in a way. They're
Yes,
organizing
it is.
these groups,
Yeah.
and it's kind of like getting them together to be, kind of raise their fitness and raise their, just kind of become more responsible men, which is a really good thing. And they're kind of avoiding politics altogether, but they're still being, kind of Tommy's promoting them, which I think is a really good thing as well. It's reclaiming manhood, but in the right way.
Yeah.
Well, I wonder if they want an old ex-soldier with PTSD. I could get them kids
Get in
into
touch
line.
with them. Get in touch with them. Get in touch
It's
with them.
true. It's true. Yeah, true.
Yeah, you never know. You might have something to offer.
Yes,
There were
mate,
a couple
yes.
of. Sorry, there were a couple of other things I wanted to speak about, but we're running really low on time, so I'll just quickly chuck them in there. One was this in when was it? Was it San Diego? This shooting at a mosque. Did you see that?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
which was a kind of a weird one. And when the story first broke, I read it in the Daily Telegraph, and I was looking at the comments, and very little sympathy. Very little sympathy. And I don't know the details of it. Apparently, there's all sorts of rumors about the shooters, but there's a whole kind of theory I'm kind of developing about the whole thing with Islam in the West, which maybe I'd like to get into at some point, but no time this week. And the other thing, it's gone out of my mind now. There was one other thing. Oh, damn, what was it? Okay, never mind. It'll come back to me probably. Geez, what was it? Oh yes. The those two Islamic animals who attacked those police officers at Manchester Airport. Remember that? It was last year sometime.
Yeah.
And that case has been rumbling on, and it's basically twice now they've been unable to reach a verdict on it. And so it's kind of rumbling on, and there's all sorts of, and it's just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. The video evidence is there. And that once again raises questions about juries. It's like, why are juries finding it so hard to come to decisions on things? And people are starting to question the members of the jury. Perhaps the members of the jury might be of a certain demographic who place their ideology and their culture above as being more important than the law of this country. And so they'll, and it's all this sort of stuff. It's all kind of rolling into the same thing at the end of the day.
You imagine if a UTK guy had come to the Tommy March at the weekend and punched a couple of coppers at the train station, he'd be in the Old Bailey before you could blink.
But you must remember that the jury is at the heart of our English common law system, and we can't countenance the removal of a jury. Juries have always been split. No. There have always been problems with juries, and I do take the point that you said earlier, but this is very dangerous waters we're getting into, because the state wants to get rid of juries. They want to have presiding judge. I know what you're going to say as well, and I agree. But
I'm in no way kind of talking about getting rid of juries. Absolutely not. No. We should never ever get rid of juries. But but we are developing enclaves of demographics in this country who have loyalties to their own culture and ideology than they do to the laws of this country, and that is a massive problem. That is a big problem.
And
also in a world. Sorry, in a world where they know everything about everyone, they can pick their jury, and you'd have no idea that they'd picked a biased jury. They can just pick people by looking at what they buy, looking at what they've done for the last 2 years on the internet. So the AI world means you can't have an unbiased jury anymore, because someone can make the jury how they want it to be.
They are vetted. They're chosen specifically, not not in that sense, but to be neutral. For example, so if you have a criminal record, you can't go on a jury. That's one of many examples. So there is an attempt, and there always has been this, to make the jury fair, without fear and favour, which is the law, of course.
I mean, but that counts on everyone regarding the law and the culture and the ideals and morals of this country being of the utmost importance above everything else.
Absolutely.
And that is starting to not be the case.
If we lose common law, we're in very big trouble indeed. We're in very big trouble, and they'd like to get rid of common law or case law. They'd like it to put it down to basically a corrupt judge, essentially a picked, chosen judge, almost like a star chamber idea.
I'm absolutely against that. I don't have a problem with juries. I just have a problem with
I get it. Yeah, absolutely.
And biases in that respect.
And there are other biases. I mean, someone once spoke to me about a trial they were on. It was a long trial, quite a high-profile trial, and stated that when the person was arraigned, looked around and then they chatted in the jury room, and a couple of people said, "Oh, he couldn't have done it. He's middle class," and and other people were just there because they were bored. Some person spent the whole trial drawing hangman. So there's always been problems with juries. Always, of course, that's the nature of humanity, individual humanity. Well,
I read a story. I did read a story last week about some trial in the US, and it was in one of the blue states, I think. And it was a black guy who's had a criminal history. He was a known criminal, and he basically got acquitted by the jury because they were of the opinion that there's too many black men in jail. That was their reason for acquitting him. Like, completely ridiculous. Completely, If you think the guy's guilty of the crime, then he's guilty of the crime, regardless of how many of us, of a certain race or ethnicity are in jail. That's got nothing to do with it. So, there you go.
Indeed.
But anyway.
Well, there's a case today of teenagers who set out on a rape, several rapes. They have not really been punished. They've been let off because of their age, and as it's a warning. Well, hang on, excuse me. This is quite a vicious thing. It is. Where did this happen? Hampshire, I think. Yeah, Hampshire.
Really?
Check it out. It's really weird. That. So, I think this is magistrate rather than jury, though. To be honest.
Yeah, but still, we need to become far more kind of a zero tolerance towards crime. We're becoming way too soft in crime. I mean, I'm probably sounding like really a bit hard line here, but everything is all about feelings and emotions and being nice. Be nice. Be nice. It's like no. Let's the reason the crime is getting so bad is because we're being so soft on crime. If we actually set precedents with crime, if someone commits a really serious crime and they get sent to prison for life, that means life. It doesn't mean they're in there for 10 years and then they get out on parole. That means life. You get sent. You get sentenced to so many years in prison. That is what you do. No questions, no ifs, no buts. It needs to be. Yeah,
but the trouble with crime is that there are certain. Well, I could say within natural law there are certain crimes, of course, but the government and the state have made so many things a crime that it's made the whole thing ridiculous. How many women were imprisoned for not paying TV license? Disproportionately, women are jailed for not paying TV licenses. These little things. There are little things like that. What about this thing called a non-crime hate speech? A non-crime hate speech. Oh, okay.
It's nonsensical, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, what about the whole idea of hate speech anyway as a crime?
Yeah.
So I take issue with this blanket idea of crime. There are certain crimes, of course, like the murder,
Well,
the theft or destruction of property, etc.,
victim.
etc.
Well, I mean, if you go back to common law, as I'm sure you well know, Viv,
Mm,
a crime without a victim is not a crime.
mm, mm.
For something to be a crime, there has to be a victim, and that's the end of it.
Yeah,
But listen,
of
you know
course.
what? We're pushing on. We're really pushing on time. We haven't done Viv's bookshelf.
Oh,
We haven't done Paul O'Grady. So I don't
oh,
know.
oh.
I was just going to say, do you mind if we just go straight to a few jokes?
No.
Got to be perfectly honest with you, I'm absolutely drained tonight. Anyway,
Yeah,
All right.
I hate to be the downer, but yeah.
yeah.
Cheer,
Go for it.
cheer me up with
All right.
some jokes, Bronze.
Well, I can't guarantee that, but here we go. A man walks into a bar with his dog and asks for a drink, but the bartender says, "You can't bring that dog in here." The guy, without missing a beat, says, "But this is my seeing eye dog." The bartender says, "Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realise you're blind. Here, have this drink on me." The guy takes a drink, goes and sits down by the door. Another guy walks in with a chihuahua. Before he gets to the bar, the first guy says, "Hey, listen, he doesn't like dogs in here, but if you tell him it's a seeing eye dog, you'll be all right." Well, the guy walks up to the bar, and the barman says, "You can't bring dogs in here." He says, "It's my seeing eye dog." And the bartender goes, don't give me that. Chihuahuas are not seeing eye dogs." And the guy says, "They gave me a chihuahua."
Ah, very good.
Yeah, I was at the hospital and I walked into a surgeon's office. "Can I help you?" he asked. "I keep thinking that I'm a moth," I replied. You probably want a psychiatrist for that." "Yeah, I know." He looked confused. "And why are you here?" "Because the light was on."
Yeah.
"I used to think orthopedic shoes were overrated. I now stand corrected."
Yeah.
I
Did you
like
hear
those
about
ones.
Did you hear about the origami TV channel? It's pay-per-view.
Mm-hmm.
An old man is driving down the highway when his phone rings. He answers it, and it's his wife. He says, "Be careful. I just heard on the news there's a car going the wrong way down the highway." The old man says, "One car? There's hundreds of them."
Oh, I guessed that, but that's a great, yeah.
All right, a couple more. This one's I don't know what you call this one, but this one goes on a bit. What do you call a man with no arms and no legs at a barbecue? Frank.
I don't know.
Frank. What do you call a man with no arms and legs in a swimming pool?
Bob.
Yep. What do you call a man with no arms and no legs in a hole?
No.
Phil.
Oh, yeah.
Still, yeah.
What do you call a man with no arms and no legs hanging on the wall? Art.
Yeah.
Where do you get these things from?
What do you call? Wait for it. What do you call a man with no arms and no legs in a mailbox? Bill. What do you call a man with no arms and no legs on a doorstep? Matt. What do you call a man with no arms and no legs at the beach? Sandy. What do you call a man with no arms and no legs in a pot? Stew.
And you just know all these. These are just rattling out your head.
No,
No.
I've got them written down. I copied them.
Oh,
from
okay.
where-
You're right.
He's
No.
somehow got hold of Bob Monkhouse's compendium of
Oh,
jokes.
right. Is this Bob Monkhouse? All right. Okay.
I don't know.
Well, I don't know. Well, here you go. I'm going to finish it off with this one. I don't know if this is Bob Monkhouse, but guy checks into a hotel. He's at the front desk, and he says to the guy at the front desk, I hope this hotel has disabled porn." The guy says, "No, we have normal porn, you sick bastard."
Hang on, I've missed. I don't get that. I'll re-listen to that, and I'm sure I'll get that. Okay.
Yeah.
I normally get them
Okay,
when I
yeah.
re-listen to them.
All right, yeah.
No,
Okay.
no. It disabled the porn channel. Yeah. disabled.
Oh, I see. Yes.
The ability,
I hope you have disabled porn in this hotel. No, sir, you sick bastard. We have normal porn.
Yes, I got you now. Yeah.
yeah.
And there you go. There you go. That's your lot.
There you go. And very quickly,
So,
the trial of the three rent boys who the arsonists.
wait. The three Ukrainian rent boys.
The three who are in control of El Mani has been adjourned because there's problems with the translation.
Of course there
Go on,
was.
Go on. Tell us what the problems with the translation were, Viv.
Well, there are various problems with the translation, but for example, one of the lads said so you shook hands, and
Oh, yes.
one of them said, "Oh no, we fist."
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah, we fisted each other.
Oh, I see.
I don't think there's anything wrong with the translations there.
Honestly, but it rumbles on. I've got nothing. I mean, I watched Willsey. They've done a good job, on Vox Populi. They've done a good job on that, but it's been postponed for a bit, adjourned, as they say.
Yeah. So,
and actually, very quickly, I always forget to say, if you want to read some of the stuff that Viv comes up with, as opposed to just listening, he was mentioning his Substack earlier. It'll always be in somewhere in the comments. I've put his Substack. If you like reading, I'm not a reader, so that's why I don't talk too much about what he's wrote. But I know there's readers out there. If you like reading stuff, Viv has got some great stuff, and he's a very prolific poster. So enjoy his Substack.
Thank you very much.
Not at all.
At the Drift on Substack.
Yeah, that's the one. Mostly short stories now, to be honest. I've retreated a lot from the more political stuff. Although the arsoning of the British Prime Minister has been my most popular post, but that's because no one else has really reported on this. And even though I'm a very small fish, the fact that I stuck my head above the parapet, I guess, appealed to people.
Well, Yeah. I mean, you can now add arsoning and fisting together. You can lump those two together now, can't you?
Yeah, it's mental, isn't it? It's absolutely mental. Anyway, perhaps we should talk about that some other stage, because it is enormously late.
It is. I think it was 12 minutes ago that I was tired. So let's knock it on the head there, gentlemen.
Yeah.
Okay, until next time.
Yeah, until next time, guys.
Good night from us and good night from them.
Hasta la vista.
Have a good night.
Yeah.
See ya.
You too. All the best.
Yeah, so are we going to carry on with Paul O'Grady next week, or is it? Are we going to move on?
Have we done?
We didn't really do. I have got a few things about it. Like we kind of brought him up. We had a brief chat, and we didn't really do anything. So
okay, I'll carry on next week. All right, yeah, we'll fist him next week. Oh, sorry, no, we'll shake his hand. We'll shake his hand next week. Yeah.
bit of a problem in translation there, listeners.
That's right. Yeah, get my Ukrainian mixed up there. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh,
My Ukrainian, getting that mixed up.